Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you've been well. Today we're gonna do a video. I think it'll be kind of fun. It's a random one, mostly talking as the videos are sometimes. So if you know me, if you follow my channel for a little while, you know I'm into, well, a bunch of things, but kind of a core focus of the channel's preparedness. And then I guess another core focus of the channel is kind of overland adventures. And there's a lot of carryover. So we're gonna be talking about the benefits in this video of owning an overland vehicle, of which there are many. Overland vehicles and overlanders, they're easy to make fun of. You got your Wittle Wadder on the back of your Wittle 4Runner. Yeah, I mean, I get it too. I like to make fun of us as much as anyone else. And you do kill some daily functionality of your vehicle if you're kind of building it for adventure, you're building it for overlanding. We're not gonna talk about that in this video. There are some obvious, you kill your gas mileage, just stuff like that. We're not gonna talk about that in this video. In this video, we're gonna talk about all of the good things, all of the benefits that you get out of it. So either if A, you need a little pat on the back because you built a dope overland vehicle and your friends at work are making fun of you, or you're thinking about building an overland vehicle and you're like, there's a lot of cons and not that many pros. I'm gonna give you some pros. Now there's some obvious pros. One is you probably always have a chair in your car. This one's still one of my favorite, the little front runner transformer chairs. So then conveniently you always have a nice little spot to sit and relax if you want to hang out or film a random video in front of your truck. So I don't know, for maybe for YouTube, I named this something stupid like 10 benefits of owning an overland vehicle. I have no idea how many I'm gonna talk about, but we'll say 10, give or take 10 or 20 more. So if you're building an overland vehicle, obviously you're building it hopefully for a purpose. Whether that purpose is to look cool and never actually go overlanding, that's totally fine. I don't care. People build cars, they find a lot of joy, they like different styles. And if you just want to build an overland vehicle that looks cool and you never plan on camping, I don't care. I'm not one of those people that's going to judge you because I don't care what another adult does with their money, as long as they're not doing anything horrible. So if you want to build it for that reason, that's totally fine. If you want to build it for a very dedicated, specific, purpose-built reason, I want to drive to South America, or I want to go on weekend adventures or whatever, go for that as well. So overland vehicles can take a lot of different shapes, a lot of different forms. You can build them on a lot of different platforms. You could have full camper conversion builds to like just weekend warrior. You can have more wheeler-centric vehicles. So they all kind of check a few boxes. So what I'm going to be talking about will largely apply to all of them, but just so you know, depending on how you built your vehicle, they may apply to it more or less. But all that to say, if you want to build an overland vehicle, regardless of the reason, I highly recommend it for these 10 or so reasons. So the first one is kind of a big overarching reason, and it's you're kind of always prepared in your overland vehicle. If you have a vehicle that's built to get you way out into the mountains or way out into the desert, chances are that vehicle can handle a trip to the grocery store very well, but it will potentially be able to get you home better than your normal grocery getter. And some of the reasons are because you probably have a little bit of a lift, you have a little bit bigger tires, maybe you have some armor or whatever. And if just crap went down at the grocery store, we'll just use that as an example, and the cars started getting to a traffic jam, there was really a reason that you'd really desperately needed to get out of it. Not just to be a dickhead and to cut in line or anything, but there was a real reason you needed to get out. The zombies were swarming. Having that overland built vehicle could certainly go up the little hill, jump the little curbs and all those things better. Now that's an aspect that kind of gets made fun of in the overland crowd, like, oh yeah, go over a curb at the mall. But going over the curb at the mall is much easier in a Tacoma on 35s than it would be in your Toyota Camry, for instance. So the preparedness aspect, the general overarching preparedness aspect of an overland built vehicle cannot be ignored. I talk about it a lot in I made a video called like the prepared daily driver. I talk a lot about truck gear and I kind of go over my various builds on the channel here. And they are almost always capable of handling more extreme terrain. And more extreme terrain, you might run into a scenario where you are glad that you had it. Oh, oh. The files are inside the computer? Chances are you know how your vehicle works a little better. Now, this isn't always the case. If you are not mechanically inclined, you've never worked on your vehicle, you know nothing, you just took it to a shop. Again, I'm not judging that either. If that is your jam, have at it. Shops need business, and if you have more fun with your family, more fun working, more fun playing golf or whatever, and you don't want to work on your vehicles, again, no judgment here. I don't care. I've been fortunate enough to kind of have to work on vehicles a lot of my life. Now I'm trying to work on them a little bit less, but all that to say, more often than not, your overland type dude has more of an idea of what's going on with their vehicle than the average Joe. And you're probably more on top of your vehicle maintenance. You've kind of made sure the service is done. You're making sure your brakes are good. You're making sure your tires are aired up. So you kind of have a better grasp of both A, how your vehicle works, but also B, how your vehicle is maintained. So again, not always 100% of the case, but I would say more often than not, your overland vehicle is gonna be more squared away. Now again, do overlanders get made fun of? Like, oh man, I really needed that extra light bar instead of an oil change. They do, but I would guess that more often than not, an overland vehicle is gonna be more squared away than the average vehicle. Kind of going along with that, you probably know the general capabilities of your vehicle. If you're faced with an obstacle, again, back to the mall scenario, the curb at the mall, you see this hill, you see this incline, and you compare that to obstacle 17 on trail B32, you're like, that is no problem. I know my vehicle can do that in its sleep. Or there's a rock right in the middle of the trail. You know how high your diff clearance is in. You're like, I got that just fine. So again, in general, you have a better grasp, a better understanding. You're more comfortable with the actual capabilities of your vehicle. Sometimes that's how fast you can go around a corner. Sometimes that's, you know, if you need to go through the median without getting stuck, you know how to engage four-wheel drive, you know your locker works, those kind of things. You just know the capabilities of your vehicle. Along with that, your vehicle is also typically more resilient. It's more robust. It's gonna be harder to stop. Whether that's because you have chunkier tires that are not gonna get flats as easy, or you have sliders where you'll be able to pivot over, again, boulders in the parking lot, or you have a more robust bumper. A lot of times bumpers will have somewhat of a bull bar. A lot of times this is to protect the radiator of your vehicle, actually. So if an animal comes up or a zombie or whatever, you are not going to damage some important equipment in your engine bay because you have some more robust equipment. So whether that's having the ability to plow through a group of protesters, don't do that. You heard it here. Do not do that. But you could in your overland vehicle more so than a Ford Taurus, right? Now, if heaven forbid you went too far, you went past the capabilities of your vehicle, your Toyo MTs just can't quite find the traction, a lot of the times overland vehicles will also be equipped with the ability to self-recover. Or help recover other people as well. If you're the Good Samaritan type, I've honestly used my winch to help people that have slid off of the road in snowstorms more than I have out on the trail, full disclosure. And I've also used my Max Tracks more to help other people in the snow, again, I do live in the mountains of Colorado. But these tools are obviously great for self-recovery. So these are MaxTrax boards. You put them under, it essentially turns your tire tracks into treads, gives you a much bigger surface area, allows you to get out of tough situations. And if your vehicle is equipped with it, you might have a winch and other recovery gear, tree straps, things like that, in order to get yourself or other people out of a pickle. One more thing, this is even more relevant if you felt like taking the extra steps and getting your ham license. I should really step it up and get my general license, but I'm just a licensed technician right now, so the lowest level of ham operator. But it does open your world up a bunch. I'm not a big time ham nerd. I wish I was, honestly. I should study up and learn more eventually. But communication devices. My vehicle is equipped with a 50 watt, it's a Yaesu FTM 400 ham unit with a pretty big antenna on the front, and I am able to reach out if I know some channels, if I have some friends that are monitoring frequencies, or there's almost anywhere you live, there's going to be various repeaters. There's a good repeater where I live that a lot of prepper types are on. So it's another way that you always have communication in your vehicle. For instance, if I was driving through an area, I'm on the regular, I'm driving in places where I don't have any cell phone reception. This is actually, I do have a WeBoost cell phone signal booster as well, so that kind of can help extend your communications. But if I was in an area where I just didn't have cell phone service and it was emergency, I could kick on my ham radio, I could connect to the repeater, and I could get some assistance that way. Also in a a more grid down communication lockup type scenario, the ham radios will still be functional. I can dial into the repeater, and those guys, again, I have a repeater that's near my house that, well, not super near my house, but I can connect to it from the greater Denver area. Those guys are pretty dialed with information. So if something happens, and again, the cell phones are all locked up, I could listen in or communicate with people there, and someone there probably has an idea of what's going on. So communication is always a great tool to have. So if you're Overland Vehicle, again, could you put a ham radio in any vehicle ever? You sure can. There are plethora of uses in an Overland equipped vehicle. This is the same for GMRS and stuff, though you don't have as much power with the GMRS radio, but even that could be used to communicate more. Or maybe you just, maybe you're carpooling somewhere to the game, and the parking lot is really, really tough, and you're on the radio with a buddy telling him, hey, I'm gonna take a right here and go park up here. Communication is great for that. Going along with that, in addition to communications, you probably also have a medical kit or several medical kits in your Overland vehicle, because again, kind of comes with the territory. Overlanders are into that kind of stuff. Can you have a IFAC, individual first aid kit, in any car ever, the family minivan? Yes, I actually encourage you to have it in that. But again, your Overland vehicle is almost always going to have a medical kit in it. So you have that dialed. In the event that you're trapped in a blizzard, you were just out when you shouldn't have been, or something happened, this happened in New York a while back, happens everywhere. There's some scenario where you just physically can't make it home. It's not like an apocalyptic scenario, the roads will clear up eventually. I-70's shut down because of a snowstorm and it's gridlocked and you can't go anywhere, anyhow. Man, that'd just be another Tuesday for me, right? Pop the rooftop tent, cuddle in there, maybe put a little movie on, and I would have a ball. It'd be like a fun story to tell versus a life-threatening scenario for someone else who isn't prepared. Now, again, that's gonna kind of depend on your vehicle build out. Do you have a rooftop tent that has your sleeping bags in there all the time? Hey, you're gonna be living a life of luxury. But you're probably, even if you don't, you're gonna be better off in that kind of scenario if somehow the capabilities of your vehicle can't get you out of that gridlock and home. If you're stuck there, you could survive. You could live a little happier, and you could probably also help a lot of other people. This one I talk about a lot. I have a camping bin I keep in there all the time, and it always has some freeze-dried food. Mine has some peak refuel in there, so I could literally pop the tailgate down, cook a meal in that gridlock traffic, pop the tent, have a little nap, and be on my way when it cleared up. I have some gear back here, so I don't have a ton of room. Actually, I do have a ton of room way up in front. So depending on your setup as well, obviously I have the Diamondback under here. Some people have drawer systems, some people have toppers or caps or whatever, but chances are you're gonna have a nice secure area to keep your stuff. So will this vehicle be a target to some people depending on where you park? It certainly could, but it can also have the ability to really lock things up and be secure. So if you're going somewhere, you're like, hey, I'm Overland AF, and I'm gonna be able to lock things down really well. Again, that'll kind of be dependent on the system, but a lot of Overland built vehicles have kind of gear security and storage built into the systems as well. So mine has a great place to lock things up. While we're back here, if we're talking about tailgating at a football game or maybe your kid's soccer tournament or whatever, naturally, depending on what you have set up, you could pop the awning, you could get the stove out, you could pop the tables down like on the CBS swing out here, and you are set up to do some serious tailgate. You get your campfire out, pop it on the floor, and you will be the envy of the party, and all the other dads or moms will want to come talk to you. So that's kind of it. Obviously, like I said at the beginning of this video, some drawbacks to an Overland built vehicle, but tons of benefits. Some very practical and functional, other a little bit on the more preparedness end of the spectrum, but I preach preparedness. I think everybody should have a prepared daily driver. So yeah, those are the 10 reasons that I think everyone should own an Overland vehicle. I'm sure I missed about a dozen others, so if you want to chime in the comments down below and let me know other reasons that you think just owning an Overland vehicle is awesome, let me know. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to put this video out there because there's so much, again, I poke fun at Overlanders myself as well. But I think that the sentiment is building an Overland vehicle is not practical in most ways. So I wanted to play devil's advocate a little bit and say, actually, there's a lot of benefits to owning an Overland vehicle. So anyway, I hope you liked the video. Hopefully get out and do some camping here in the next week. A couple little announcements, I guess, for you. I do this. My YouTube channel is kind of weird. It's very personal. I talk about a lot of stuff. So if you're into that, get subscribed to the channel. Give me a thumbs up and a comment down below. I'd appreciate that. YouTube crap. But in other news, Talon actually swung by today, and we've talked about it so many times in the past. I'm sure you're tired of hearing it. You're like, yeah, I'm like, whatever. But we're actually gonna get into a routine. Our lives have both kind of settled down a little bit. We're gonna kind of be in the same area for a while. So Talon and I are gonna spin up our podcast for real. Don't know what it's gonna be called. Talon kind of has a podcast already called Dropping Knowledge, the Dropping Knowledge podcast. I may come on and we just use that as the base, or we may start something totally new, but we probably will upload to YouTube. So we'll probably start a new dedicated YouTube channel for that, so we can kind of get comments in there. Podcast isn't a great interactive tool, and Talon and I both like the interactive space on YouTube, less so, but Instagram as well. And podcasts, there's not a whole lot of that. So we probably will film everything, upload it to YouTube, so that way we can get your feedback and you can interact and stuff like that. So we'll both make announcements on that later, but I would love to hear from you guys what you would like to hear on that podcast. Naturally, it's going to talk about a lot of our interests, vehicles, overlanding. Talon's less of a prepper than I am, but I'm sure we'll get some preparedness stuff in there. Let me know what guests you'd want to see on the podcast and kind of what format, maybe even what length. Is an hour good, or are you really stoked on Joe Rogan 3-hour podcasts? I would just love to hear any podcast feedback, because we're actually probably going to do our first one in the next couple of days. Yeah, I think that's it. I did start gutting the LLOD bus, the F550 bus. So I spent a day and got that thing mostly gutted. So I'll be putting a video of that up on the channel a little later, just kind of outlining the whole process of taking a party bus and turning it into an ultimate family RV adventure rig. So stoked on that. All right, guys. Well, I think that about wraps it up here. So until next time, take care.